roll call. Is the class of 2021 in the house? Is the class of 2020 in the house? Is the class of 2019 in the house? Is the class of 2018 in the house? During the week of February the 5th and February the 5th through February 9th, we have been participating in Start With Hello Week, and hundreds of schools have been doing that with us. It is an honor for us to participate with Sandy Hook's Promise for their third Start With Hello Week. It brings attention to the growing epidemic of social isolation in our schools. It empowers scholars just like you everywhere to create a culture of inclusion and connectedness with students and their youth organizations. I'm so glad that you all have decided to start with hello. Look at your neighbor and say hello. 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 Turn around, tell the person behind you hello. Hello. We want to make sure we continue that culture here in our building. We want every scholar, every day, to know that you are part of the HCA family, and we want you to always feel that you are welcomed here. If you ever have any concerns, please seek someone in our building. You are always welcomed here. Thank you to Sally Hook Promise, and those people who are here from Sally Hook Promise, you can just wave your hands, but we want to thank them. You guys give them a round of applause. We appreciate them. And I want to shout out my fabulous cultural team.
Roads in your face. Roads in your face. Thank you.
I want to shout out our culture team. From Miss I. Brown, Miss Henderson, Miss Robinson, and Miss Simpson. I also want to give a shout out to our network SEL learning specialist, Doug Salnos. Our awesome chief, Dr. Cheryl Watkins. And the dynamic duo, our assistant principal, Miss Canty. And Principal Turner. And I also want to introduce you all to our Chief Education Officer, Ms. LaTanya McDade. Ms. McDade has nearly 20 years of experience in the Chicago public school system. She has previously served as a teacher, assistant principal, network chief, and chief of teaching and learning. She's an experienced and committed educator who understands the heart of a successful school system. She believes in high quality teaching and learning in each classroom. I introduce to some and present to others CPS CEO LaTanya McDade.
Good morning, Higgins.
Good morning.
You can do better than that. Good morning, Higgins.
Good morning.
All right. Well, first, I really want to say thank you for this morning. I came in and got an opportunity to visit each of your classrooms, and I have to say, Higgins is ready to be educated through the Sandy Hook's Promise. Every single classroom that I visited was so warm and welcoming, and I can clearly see here that Higgins has embraced the culture that CPS has been investing in throughout the years around social emotional learning, and the importance for us to build really healthy, strong, safe, and supportive school environments. So we couldn't have picked a better school to kick off this program than Higgins. So that's a testament to our amazing principal, assistant principal, and absolutely to our SEL specialist, Doug. So thank you so much for all of the work you're doing here to create a warm and welcoming environment for our students to be able to grow and learn and thrive and build positive, healthy relationships. I appreciate all of the work that you're doing. On behalf of Chicago Public Schools, I really want to say thank you and to Sandy Hook Promise, and also to say how honored we are to join the millions of educators and students across the country who will be educated by Sandy Hook Promise. Today is a very important day, not only for the Higgins community, but schools throughout CPS and throughout the nation. Today is important because today we learn the importance of social inclusion. We learn the importance and build strategies to develop cultures within our schools where we have healthy relationships and every student feels accepted and valued, which is critically important for us to do well as you matriculate through your educational experience in CPS. And it really starts with a simple word. Today, we start with hello. And it seems so small, yet it's so important and it's so powerful. Because I think everyone in this room at some point or another in your life have felt alone, or maybe even just felt left out. I know I have. How many people in this room, whether it be in school or entering into a new environment, can say that there's been times that you felt lonely or even just kind of felt left out? Anybody in the room has felt that way? I think we all have, which is why this is so important that we understand that it's the simple things in life that can make a big difference. And it just starts with hello. The exercise that you did when we opened the program, just to turn to someone and say hello, can make a difference in how they feel and how they interact and the relationships that they build. As the Chief Education Officer for Chicago Public Schools, it is my responsibility to ensure that every student in this district has a high-quality education. And as a district, we have made significant gains and progress in academics. But we know that academics, while it is extremely and critically important, we know that we cannot continue that forward progress if we do not develop the whole child. Within our vision, we have a holistic approach to education, which includes investing in social and emotional learning. As a district, we've taken significant steps to ensure that we do just that. In 2014, we eliminated our zero tolerance policy and made significant changes to policy around discipline. We've incorporated restorative practices in all of our schools. Our schools have school culture and climate teams to make sure that students are connected with adults and have positive relationships with each other as well as with adults, and have someone that they can go to when there's a problem and seek out support. We have social emotional learning specialists that are housed within all of our networks where schools can get direct support for social emotional learning within the district. All of those steps that we have taken, we've seen tremendous change in our district. Our suspension rates have declined by 67%. That is quite remarkable. I think that deserves a round of applause because that's the work that you're doing. I have one even better. Our expulsion rates have declined by 75%. That means that we're keeping students in school where they need to be. They need to be in school, getting an education, having really healthy relationships with their peers. And we know that the work that we've been doing with social emotional learning throughout the district and the investment that we've made really makes the difference in the lives of our students. And we will continue that commitment to building strong, safe, and supportive school environments where every single student feels that they have a voice, they feel respected, they feel valued, and they have a sense of community. Having a sense of community means that you feel connected to the environment that you're in, where you learn, where you grow, where you play, where you make friends. And this should be a safe space. And we will continue to invest in the promise to ensure that every student has healthy relationships in their schools so that they can grow to be healthy socially, emotionally, physically, and academically. I really would like to take the time to say how truly humbled we are to be here with Mark Barton and Nicole Hockley, the co-founders of Sandy Hook Promise. Mark and Nicole grew something powerful and positive from the most unspeakable circumstance. I thank them both for their incredible courage and commitment and sheer strength, for turning the tragedy that befell their beautiful boys into something that could very well save the lives of other children and adults. I thank them for creating Start with Hello and pledge to follow their lead as we move together towards a common goal, creating schools where every single student has the support they need so that no one ever feels isolated. Please join me in welcoming the co-founders and managing directors of Sandy Hook Promise, Mark Barton and Nicole Hockley.
Thank you, Ms. McDade. Beautiful remarks, so well said. And it is absolutely, truly our honor to be here at Higgins with you. Look at you guys all in your shirts. Hey, you know what? Can I take a picture? Can I take your picture? Here, can you hold this for a second? You guys look great. I want to take a picture. All right, sit up straight, smile. Nice, thank you. You look great in your shirts. My name is Mark Garden. I live in the town of Sandy Hook, which is in Connecticut, which is quite a ways from here. So it's great to see you guys all here and allowing us to speak to you a little bit this morning. We're going to learn some really good stuff. This is my son, Daniel. I'm very proud of my little son, Daniel. He was a wonderful, wonderful little boy. Daniel had some amazing characteristics. Just ask his dad. One of those wonderful characteristics was that he used to notice people who were sitting alone in his school. So picture, if you will, the classroom is doing an activity and everybody kind of gets into groups and they're working on something. If somebody were left out and sitting alone, Daniel would notice that. And he wouldn't be okay with that. And so he would actually ask to be excused from the activity and go sit with that person just to say hello and just to check if they're okay and see if they needed a friend. Sometimes you just need healthy alone time, but sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes people are left out and feel invisible all the time, every day. And that's different than healthy alone time. That hurts, that doesn't feel good. We've all felt that. Miss McDade just asked you guys, have you ever felt left out or not included? And we've all felt that, and it doesn't feel good. But some people spend every day like that, every day. And over a period of time, that's a bad thing. But what's a good thing is we're going to show you guys today how you have the power to reach those people and make them feel valued and included and important. And it's really simple and it's really easy to do. And it'll just start with hello. Think about little Daniel going over to somebody and say hello. That's all it takes. It's all it takes to make somebody feel like, hey, I'm not invisible. I do matter. Somebody noticed me. And you never know how much impact that might have on that person's life. At the very least, you'll brighten their day and make them feel better. And that's a great thing. But it could be much more than that. That one conversation could literally change that person's life, and for the better. And so Miss Erica is going to show you guys today how you can do that, how you'll have the power to change somebody's life for the better. That's an amazing tool to have, and you're going to have that tool for your entire life. And you're going to influence people and affect them in a good, positive way all around you every day for the rest of your life. Because what you're going to learn today about Start With Hello is a very simple act can have a huge, positive, lasting impact. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more you'll want to do it, and it just goes on like that. So it's an amazing thing to know how to do. It's a great way to honor my little Daniel and Nicole's little son, Dylan. And we're so honored and privileged to be here with you guys today. And all you have to do is start with hello. And we're going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to introduce you now to my wonderful friend and colleague. This is Nicole Hockley, and we've become very close. We're like brother and sister. And
He's the older brother.
she's my obnoxious little sister. And she has a few things to talk to you about too. And then we're going to introduce you to our wonderful Miss Erica, who's going to show you all about how you can start with hello.
Mark was talking about the power that you all have, and that's a really important word to understand, because as I see you all in your t-shirts, with the Start With Hello t-shirts on, that's like your superhero cape, okay? That's reminding you of the ability that you have within you to make an impact in someone's life. What Mark said is absolutely true. You may never know what by just saying hello to someone will do. It could just make them have a better day. It could prevent them from making a bad choice. It could change the outcome of what they do for that day, that week, that month, or for the rest of their life. You just never know. But I can promise you, just by starting with hello and reaching out to someone, you will be making a difference. And that is a power that should not be taken lightly, because that's a big responsibility for something so small. My son Dylan he had his own superpowers. He wore his Superman t-shirt a lot. This was one of his favorite t-shirts. I don't think he thought he was Superman, but he had his own powers and abilities. And it's funny, Mark's son Daniel and Dylan, we only realized a couple of years ago that they knew each other in preschool, because Dylan was the sort of kid that Daniel would reach out to. Dylan had special needs. He was autistic and required people to reach out to him because he didn't know how to reach out to other kids. That was one of his, he was loving, he loved cuddles, he had some very special ways of looking at the world, and I loved learning through him, but he didn't know how to communicate. He didn't know how to start with hello. Daniel would be that kid. Daniel was that kid. And Dylan, one of the other things that Dylan did that I want to share with you today is he flapped a lot. He flapped his arms. Whenever he got excited or happy, he would jump up and down and flap his arms as fast as he could. And my husband and I used to think that he would just take off one of these days and he would be Superman, because he would be flying around the room. And I asked him once, "Why do you flap?" And I truly was not expecting a response, but he looked at me and he said, "Because I'm a beautiful butterfly." And I talked about butterflies at his funeral. I talked about how there's a theory that some of you may be aware of a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the world can cause or prevent a hurricane on the other side. It's that small little beat of the wings that can cause huge change. And I talked at his funeral about how those that we lost at Sandy Hook were butterflies, because their wings were going to create change. And one of the things that I love most about being at Sandy Hook Promise and the work we do is coming and meeting with you. There are over 4,200 schools participating in Start With Hello Week this week. Mark and I wanted to be here with you and help you with your power. Because I know you might just think, hey, we're kids here on a Thursday day getting ready for a potential snow day. But when I look at all of you, all I see are butterflies, because you're the ones that are going to create this change. So thank you for allowing us to be here with you today. We're going to hand over to Erica, our friend Erica now, who's going to take you through Start With Hello, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we want you to. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, I already heard the introductions earlier, so I know you can be louder than that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There it is. Thank you. Good morning. Can I say how excited I am to be here today? I'm very nervous, though. I'm not going to lie. And I always get nervous at schools that I know have high standards, because I know that you, the students, have high standards for yourself. So it's an honor and a privilege that you invited me here today to speak to you. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and it matters to me. We're going to be talking about Start With Hello today. It's a youth violence prevention program. And I think it only appropriate that if I'm going to speak to you about Start With Hello, well, I should probably start with hello myself, right? So, hello, good morning. My name is Miss Erica with a K, not a C, with a K. It makes it easier for people to remember my name. Start With Hello is extremely important to me, and people sometimes do ask me, they're like, well, why do you do this? Why does it matter to you? When I was in 4th or 5th grade, can't exactly remember what grade it was, I was coming back from my class. I'd gone to the little girls' room, I had to go to the bathroom, and I was walking back to class, and next thing I know, out of nowhere, seemingly, there's like this kid that just jumps out right in front of me. He's got this scowl on his face, and he's looking at me, you know. He probably wasn't as big as I remember him, right? But in my mind, he looked like this big and snarling at me, but he was kind of angry. He looked at me, and he says, hey, you can't be speaking Mexican here. I was like, what? I was so confused. I was like, why is he angry? What is he talking about? And I looked at him, and very matter-of-factly, I said, I don't speak Mexican. I said, oh, I am Mexican. My parents are Mexican. I said, I speak Spanish. And that only seemed to make him even more angry. I was trying to clarify the situation, but it only seemed to make him more upset. Then he shoved me really hard, and I just fell backwards. And I remember my hand hitting the hard floor, and I remember how cold the floor was on the back of my legs, because I was wearing my uniform skirt that day. and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. And I felt so embarrassed and so ashamed, which is often how we feel when someone bullies us. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to know why he was angry at me. And he just stomped away, you know, he's just like stomping away. And I remember getting up, went back to class. I never told anybody about it because I felt so embarrassed. And I know this happens a lot when we get bullied. We just feel embarrassed, ashamed, and we don't even know why. The point is this: I realized that he wasn't angry at me, I hadn't done anything wrong. But I think what happened is there was a misunderstanding. He heard me speaking a language he didn't understand. He didn't understand how to share that language with me. So there was a wall up between us. So I have made it part of my life's passion to bring down those walls and to create bridges of communication, to figure out a way to connect with people, to be more inclusive, and to let them know, hey, I'm different from you, but I'm also part of you. And that's why I love Start With Hello, because to me, it's a universal language. It's a language that I want to teach you today. It's a language that builds bridges. It's a language that builds strong communities and strong schools. And it's very simple, it's very impactful, and it's very powerful, but I need you. I can't speak this language without you. And that's why Start With Hello matters to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about what everyone else has been sharing, creating a more inclusive school, creating a more connected community, and how to build that and how to do that. So in order to do that, I just want to ask you for a moment to share with me a moment. I want you to think about a time that you have felt isolated, that you have felt lonely, that you felt left out, or that moment where on social media everyone is chit-chatting and sharing about something and no one is acknowledging anything you've said, or they didn't acknowledge a post, and you're just kind of feeling left out. I think we've all had a moment like that. What's important for you to know that I didn't know when that bully pushed me down to the ground, you're not alone. Millions of students feel this way every day, sometimes all day, across the nation. You're not alone. It happens to everyone at some point. You're not alone in this, you're not alone in your shame, and you have nothing to be ashamed about. Why is this important to talk about? What happens when people get bullied? What happens when people get isolated socially? Bullying, which leads to violence, which leads to depression. What do you see about these circles? If you notice these circles, are they independent? No. Are they independent of each other? No. They overlap. Can you see that, right? They overlap right here. What does that mean? One thing leads to the other. Just like a language, one thing leads to the other. You start with a noun, you add a verb, you add some punctuation, you have a sentence. This is a sentence of violence. It's a sentence of a cycle we don't want to continue to repeat. And that's why Start With Hello is so important. What happens when these things happen? You pull away from society. You feel like you don't want to engage with people. You get sick sometimes. I was bullied a lot as a kid. Happened all the time, at home, at school, on my way to school. It didn't matter. I couldn't talk to anybody about it, and I was so worked up about it that I had stomach aches so bad I couldn't keep my food down sometimes. So people do get physically ill, and you do have health issues, which makes it hard to learn. It makes it hard to be smiling and happy all the time. But here's the good news. We can change that. You can change that. I need you to be part of this process, because I'm here to teach you this language, because I've already learned it. Am I perfect at it? No. So I need your help in order to learn this language. Studies have shown that in order to learn a language, you need to repeat it and you need to practice it, because the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. Does anyone here play a musical instrument? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, we have some people who play a musical instrument. Wonderful. Anybody here play a sport? Raise your hand. Okay, we have some sports stars in here. All right, put your hands down. Anybody in here play video games? Video games? Oh, we have more of those. Okay, wonderful, thank you. Put your hands down. So that means you all speak a language, because music is a language, right? You have to learn your notes, you have to learn how to read scales. Sports, you have to learn the lingo. For example, basketball, right? You can't travel, you gotta keep your eye on the shot clock, and hopefully if you get really good, you can do a tomahawk alley-oop, right? It's a language all its own, and with gamers, it's the exact same thing. So my point is, you already are good at languages. This is just another language for you to learn that means that no matter who you're talking to, whether they're a gamer, they play sports, or they speak sign language, you'll still be able to communicate with them. But you don't get good at sports, you don't get good at playing an instrument or a game without practicing. So I want you to help me today by practicing the language we're going to learn. Every time you hear me say hello, I want you to say hello. Can we do that? Yes? You don't sound convinced. This is only going to work if you believe in it, okay? So, when I say hello, I'm asking you to say hello. Can we do that? Yes! Wonderful. All right. So today we're going to continue to speak about start with hello. Hello. All right, that's a good start, but I'm going to hope that the more we practice our language, the better we're going to become at it. 3 simple steps. We have our circles again, right? What's similar about these circles to the other ones? They overlap, right? Exactly. So it's the same principle. You do one thing, it leads to the other, and then it leads to the other. It's a positive effect, and that's what we're going to talk about. 3 simple steps. Here's the first one. You're going to see someone alone. Can y'all please repeat this with me because it's important that you learn the foundations of our new language. See someone alone.
See someone alone.
Brilliant. Number 2, we're going to reach out and help.
Reach out and help.
Very good. And then what's the third thing we're going to do? We're going to start with hello.
Start with hello.
Very good. Now let's talk about these really quickly and what does that look like to see someone alone? What does an isolated person actually look like? Well, you have one standing right in front of you. I can be an isolated person, right? Does it matter that I'm in a room full of people? Can I still feel isolated if I'm in a room full of people?
Yes.
Yes, you can. It happens all the time. Someone prefers to be alone. Mark had talked earlier about that sometimes there's healthy alone time where, you know what, you got to study for a test. You just don't want to be bothered right now. You need some healthy alone time to study your notes and get ready, right? But then there's that person that always wants to be alone. And I'm not just talking about in person, I'm talking about on social media, right? Because that's where a lot of this happens, the social isolation and the bullying. Anybody here on social media? Anybody? We all kind of know what it is, right? And I don't want you raising your hand if you're going to get in trouble because you're not supposed to be on social media, but we all know, and that's where bullying is happening more and more nowadays. So it's important to see that people are being left out, not just in the hallways of your school or in your cafeteria, but it's also happening online. Anxious or uncomfortable around others. I actually used to get really anxious when I was younger because I was being bullied so much and I was dealing with so many issues. When I'd get anxious, I'd actually start twitching. I wouldn't even notice it. My hand would just kind of start twitching. And that was just another thing for kids to make fun of me for. My hand would just kind of twitch because I'd get really anxious. So those are other things that you can look out for. Doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of that person. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. It just means they might be feeling a little anxious and you could reach out to them. And it's a great opportunity to do that. So where does this social isolation happen? It's such a tongue twister for me. I can't say it. Maybe it's because I don't like it. I don't like social isolation. It happens in your classrooms, social media. Can it happen at home?
Yes.
Can you feel bullied at home?
Yes.
Yes, you can. And that's important to recognize, okay? Can it happen at the local library? Can it happen at the local McDonald's? Can it happen in the park? Yes. So it's not limited to these. I'm not saying if it's not up here, it's not going to happen. I just want you to have that mind frame. These are some examples, but it definitely happens in many more places. And we already talked about this, that someone can feel alone even though they are with others. So speaking about seeing someone alone, I want to share a story that encompasses start with hello. When I was in 4th or 5th grade, no, 3rd grade, I remember that. It was 3rd grade because it was Miss Gibson. She was an awesome teacher. Her husband actually worked for the city of Chicago. Oh, because I'm a Chicago girl, by the way, very proud of that. I was born and raised on the South Side, so I'm very proud of that. Got to say that. Rudy was one of our students, and we had a really small school. And Miss Gibson came in one day, and we noticed that he'd been gone for a couple of weeks. He hadn't been to school. And she said, "Class, I'd like to let you know that Rudy is sick. He's been diagnosed with leukemia. Leukemia is a cancer of the blood, and it usually doesn't mean good news." So we kind of got worried and we started asking all sorts of questions. She was very patient, answered all our questions. She said, "He's going to be coming back. He will be coming back. But he's going to be a little different. And you're going to need to kind of keep an eye out and help him out." We're like, all right. A couple weeks later, he comes back. At least they told us it was Rudy, but he looked really different. He was really thin. He had circles under his eyes. And he looked like he was moving a lot slower. But the way I knew it was Rudy is because I could still see that smile in his eyes. He still had a little smile left in his eyes. Sometimes he'd fall asleep during class because he was so tired from all his treatments. But even though he was thin, even though he was weak, we still loved him because he was our classmate and we knew he was struggling with something. He couldn't go out for recess. So instead of leaving him inside alone, some of us would stay inside for recess with him, and we played board games with him that we all brought from home. So he wouldn't feel left out. So before we even saw him alone, we made sure to hang out with him. He went away again, but this time we're in 4th grade. He was in the hospital again. Leukemia had not gone away. He had to have chemotherapy and he had to have surgery. So a few weeks go by. I think it might have been even a month. I don't remember. I was a kid, you know, I'm self-involved a little bit. He comes back, and instead of being skinny, this time he'd gotten really big. He was really swollen from all the chemotherapy and all the drugs. And he actually started losing his hair. So for a second, I want you to think about that. Would it be kind of weird for you to wake up tomorrow and start losing your hair and kind of have some bald patches on your head? Kids you'd probably feel really self-conscious, like people are going to make fun of you, right? It's not an easy thing to do. Our hair is very important for most of us. It means a lot. So what we did is, one, we all pooled our allowance and we bought him a hat. So he could wear a hat to school every day and he didn't have to worry about feeling self-conscious or that anybody would stare at him. And two, we slowed down our game of tag. So at recess, even though he could come out, he couldn't run. So we slowed it down. He would just kind of stand in place and we'd run past him really fast, but we'd always slow down just enough so that he could tag us. So he was still part of the game. So the thing is, life has rules, but you can change those rules. They don't always have to be static. You can change those rules to include the people that might feel isolated, and you can do that. We did that. We were just kids, but that is powerful. You are powerful, and that is part of the message. So step number one is to see someone alone. We knew Rudy was going to feel alone. We didn't want him to. So we decided to reach out and help. And I know you're looking at me and saying, Erica, well, what do you mean? How am I going to reach out and help? You want me to talk to a perfect stranger? Well, what do I do? When do I reach out? What if I make them feel awkward and they don't even want to talk to me? What am I supposed to say to them, right? Are these some of the things that maybe if you're going to go up to somebody and talk to them, you're going to wonder about? Yeah, I was nervous. When y'all started coming in this morning, I kind of said, you know what? I want to get to know them a little bit. I was nervous about going up to you and trying to have a conversation. It's hard to start a conversation with somebody you don't really know. The great thing is, you all go to school here, so you already have that in common. But I understand how awkward it can feel. But here's the great news. There's tips, there's things that we're going to learn in our language of starting with hello. Uh-oh, I lost everybody. I tricked you. You weren't ready for that, were you? You were not. Did you see that? They fell asleep on me up here. I'm going to try that again. So the great thing about start with hello is, there we go, is that there's practices, there's tips, there's lingo, language, and things that we can learn to make this work. So I'm not just telling you, hey, go out here and do this. No, I'm actually going to give you the ideas and the tips to make it happen. So you're wondering, well, what can I do? Here's what you can do. February 9th, which is actually this Friday, is National No One Eats Alone Day. Has anyone ever heard of it? National No One Eats Alone Day? I hadn't heard of it until I started working with Sandy Hook Promise, and I became a part of this amazing organization. This is a day where nobody, nationwide, every schools kind of make that effort, conscious effort to make sure nobody sits alone. So if you see anybody sitting alone at lunch this Friday, go up to them. That's an opportunity to start with hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Well done. Straight A's over here. Yes. Love it. Okay, we still have a chance over here, okay? They're on it. So you can sit with someone that may be feeling alone. When you